Hello, friends, and happy Friday. Welcome to today's live level up conversation. Whether you're joining me live or catching me on replay, thanks so much for being here. Let's get started.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Award-winning financial pro. Get ready. Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Hello, friends. I'm Winnie, your host and award winning financial pro, a Forbes contributor, and a CNBC Council member and contributor. And we are streaming here live on several social media platforms, over a dozen different platforms, in fact. So please jump in, come in, and introduce yourself. Let me know how your week's gone. And of course, we're going to talk about today's market. I mean, you didn't think we could have a show without that, especially with the market that we're experiencing today. Let me give you some ideas on what we're doing. But here, currently the Dow is down 876 points. You heard that right, down over 800 points. Nasdaq's down 486. S&P 500 down over 128 points as well. It's a tough day for the financial markets. Not gonna lie. It's a hard way to end the week, but hopefully it improves a little bit throughout the day. It's still early. The market isn't going to close for a few more hours. But some news that has been coming out, I'm going to share with you is this. The Fed actually has been talking about that they're actually closer than ever to potentially interest rate cuts. So the Fed, of course, Jerome Powell came out, talked about how they're really focusing on data, of course, to drive any decisions that they make. But yeah, they're hoping in September, and they're being encouraged. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said he's been encouraged by some of the economic signs that could lead to a rate cut in September. But of course, they're saying with stubborn price pressures, that could certainly change. But yeah, that's what's going on. That's part of the news that's going on. But there's so many big financial stories that I want to share with you today before we go into the weekend. And one of those is the FTC's intention to investigate prices when you go to the grocery store. This was shared on Yahoo Finance by Jody Godel, and talking about how the FTC is examining why grocery prices still are so incredibly high. Now, I don't know the last time that you went to the market. Might have been very recent. I just went this week, and in fact, I was like surprised just the increased cost on something so simple that my family loves during the summertime, and that's watermelon. The price of watermelon has gone up so much this year; it's crazy. Well, this probe that the FTC is going to take place is being led, of course, by the Biden-Harris administration and their effort to address consumer costs and what you and I pay for on our regular household budget. So the investigation is going to involve multiple grocery chains, such as, like the typical ones in your neighborhood, but also some warehouse stores. So they're saying they're even going to investigate places such as Costco, Amazon's, supermarkets, including Whole Foods, Target, Walmart, and they want to see what's going on because food prices have increased from 2019 to 2023. They rose 25% during that time. And then there was another 11% between 2021 and 2022, right? And so it continues to grow. And that's a lot of growth, even with the pandemic involved and everything else. It just seems so much higher than wages and a lot of other things. So FTC chair is emphasizing that they want to make sure that major businesses that you and I go to aren't exploiting their power to inflate prices that you and I pay for. So they're targeting not only high prices, but now the FTC is also going to be looking really closely at those junk fees from a whole bunch of different sectors. Now, you've heard about that, where we've talked about this on the show about credit card junk fees, but the FTC now is also going all in and looking closely at junk airfare fees. In fact, I read a story earlier today talking about how they're trying to prohibit airlines from charging families to have to pay more to make sure their children are seated next to them on a plane. So I don't know about you, but I think that's a good thing. I think it makes sense. Like, why would you want to separate a family when it's a plane and it's transportation and it's short term. And maybe there's other ways, to retrieve some of that money without separating families. It just doesn't make sense. Because as a parent with children, and even when my kids were younger, it's stressful for everybody involved. And honestly, I don't think it's a good experience for the flight attendants who are managing the flight either way. So anyway, the FTC has initiated now many inquiries about discriminating pricing, different pricing practices, and they just want to make sure things are fair and we're not being overcharged without reason. So that's a good sign. I think we can all agree that that hopefully will lead to better prices when we're getting our groceries. Now, speaking of other things that are looking towards getting forgiven, we're talking about student loans once again. Now, we talk about student loans a lot on this show because it really impacts so many people. In fact, this new round of student loan forgiveness may actually impact about 25 million borrowers. That's a lot. I can't believe 25 million borrowers. That's a crazy amount. So the Biden administration's new student loan forgiveness plan, this is reported by my friend Annie Nova at CNBC, is going to be notifying borrowers about a new student loan debt cancellation plan. And this was kind of cool because unlike the previous ones where you had to submit all this information, you had to do a form, you had to make sure you opted in, this new revised plan is designed to make things a lot easier. But hopefully, they're hoping it doesn't get contested in the courts and that it will prove to be legal, and then they can just go ahead with this because it's going to follow four main categories. So I just want to share with all of you today. So number one, those of you, if you're a student loan borrower, if you owe more now than when you first started repayment, well, that's one category. The second one is for those of you who are borrowers who entered a repayment on your undergraduate student loans before July 1st of 2005 or graduate loans before July 1st of 2000. That's another category. And then for those who are eligible for existing forgiveness programs, but you just didn't apply because maybe you didn't know or you didn't know if that's applicable to you, just didn't do it. And of course, lastly, the last category is from low financial value programs. So this is kind of neat. This part I like. So this is going to allow so that it's an automatic inclusion. So if you are one of these four category borrowers, you don't even have to apply. They're going to go ahead and put you into this new forgiveness program, but you do have the option to opt out by August 30th. Now, whether you would opt out or not, I think that only you can decide on that. But there's going to be a lot of information. Of course, you can go online and check and follow all that information, especially if you have a student loan. Now, the education department does plan to finalize the rule by October. And they said after they do that, they want to be able to quickly start to implement this. Now, the problem with this, though, is as you guess, there are certain lawsuits that are expected to take place, which could potentially delay relief to many student borrowers. Now, some of the tax implications, of course, is federally tax-free through 2025, although some state taxes may actually apply. So you have to check in with your tax professional if you have questions on that. But yes, there's going to be a lot of information on that. If you have a student loan, definitely check out your borrowing page and, of course, your student loan provider just to get more information on that too. Now, speaking of things that are changing and speaking of news that, of course, very controversial, here's an interesting one that's coming out of Tesla. Okay. Tesla is in the news once again, and especially in this particular case, Elon Musk in particular, because salespeople that work at Tesla are saying that, things need to change. This is reported as in the Business Insider by Grace Kay, talking about how Tesla is facing challenges in the way that they sell cars to consumers. In fact, it's prompting concerns within the company itself because salespeople are saying that a lot of the issues when it comes to selling these cars, the blame goes to Elon Musk and his strategic decisions. So they're saying that, you know, Elon's focus on direct sales and sort of a reduced emphasis on traditional dealership models and whatnot could actually cause problems. And they're saying changes in the sales strategies have led to confusion and dissatisfaction among potential buyers, which is causing stress, of course, to the sales force. But of course, we know that Elon's strong influence on the company's direction is being seen and being reported as seen as both an asset to the company, of course, and a potential liability as well. So Tesla says that they may need to revisit and change the way that they sell their sales strategies, and they want to make sure they align with sort of market considerations and customers' needs. So yeah. So that's an interesting story. So for those of you who recently purchased a Tesla or recently leased a Tesla, I know that there's a lot of you out there. Let us know what your experience has been. Has it been positive? I will say when I went to pick up my Tesla, this was like years ago, I thought the experience was really cool. You know, it was like very unlike your typical dealership experience. You went in, you know, they gave you beverages, you were relaxed, someone came, and then your car was in the showroom all displayed, and then someone would come and explain all the features to your car, and then you would just drive away. And I will say it was such an easy drive away, so it was very, very painless. But that being said, that was pickup. The sales process, I agree, it definitely could have used some improvement. But I'm curious to see how you feel about that. But I think in most cases, whenever you're buying a vehicle or leasing a vehicle, I can't really say I ever had a really delightful experience. Maybe you have, but I certainly haven't. So, it is what it is. But speaking of all things change, let's continue on, right? And this is a big one. We've been talking about artificial intelligence, AI, for some time. And I'm sure we're going to continue to talk about that with all the advances that are going on. But here's the thing. Did you know? Of course, there's been a lot of concerns about what AI can do and what it can disrupt in terms of like our safety, our, our privacy, all these other matters. And, a lot of writers and media companies are saying, is it right? Is it fair? Who pays what? All these things. But here now there is some legislation coming out of the European Union, EU. I know Vicky Garvey, who is a regular on our show. Thank you so much for supporting the show. I know she's joining us from the EU, talking about AI law and how it's going to enter the picture now. So this was reported by Yahoo News, talking about the EU's comprehensive AI law, which is now in effect. Okay, this is going to balance innovation, they say, with citizen protection for all of us. Now, especially, I mean, in Europe right now, but we can always assume that for those of us in the United States, it probably a lot of those elements will probably trickle over here, hopefully. But this is adopted after some intense negotiations between obviously the government and these tech companies. The AI Act is the first of its kind globally. And this was inspired, of course, by the rapid advancement on many AI systems, including, ChatGPT and everything else. But they say that general compliance is going to be required by 2026, and that AI models such as ChatGPT are going to have to comply within 12 months, and that there's going to be certain bans on certain predictive policing and biometric systems, which will need to take effect in 6 months. So the AI Act is now going to impose stricter obligations on high-risk AI systems just to make sure that this is safe, and this safeguards health and rights for all citizens. Now, companies that are connected to the EU must also establish AI governance programs to also meet these regulatory standards. Now, here's the thing. Why would you do that, right? There's got to be what's the penalty? And the penalty is very steep, my friends. Non-compliance of the AI Act, get this, can result in fines of up to 7% of an annual global revenue. That's huge. Global revenue, 7%. That's too steep. So obviously, as you can I mean, as you probably guess, many tech companies are probably really upset about this, but nonetheless, they say this is important to make sure that AI continues to grow, but grows safely, and that it protects our privacy and our rights for those of us who are using their technology, at least in the EU. So hopefully we see something follow here in the United States, because obviously we also want our rights protected as well. And let me know your thoughts about this. You like this idea? You don't like this idea? Do you think government is taking too big of a role? Do you think they need to take more of a role? What are your concerns as it pertains to technology and artificial intelligence? And of course, not only today, but into the future and for future generations as well. All right, let's talk about the next one. And this is a fun one. Taco Bell. We can have a Friday show without some fun, right? So Taco Bell is expanding their AI drive-through to hundreds of restaurants here in the United States. This is being reported by Bloomberg, talking about how Taco Bell is going to introduce AI voice ordering systems to many drive-throughs by the end of this year. And the technology is currently operational in about 100 different restaurants across 13 states currently. And they've been testing this over the last 2 years. But this AI is the plan is improve order accuracy, and most importantly, reduce the wait time for those of you who are going to Taco Bell. Now, while some of the competitors are actually scaling back AI, Taco Bell says they're going all in on this technology. And they have 7,400 stores, so over 7,000 stores here in the United States. But of course, not all of them have the AI technology, but they're starting to roll them out bit by bit. And they're saying that their technology is expected to streamline operations and, of course, enhance the experience that you have when you go through their drive through. So, this move does position Taco Bell as currently a leader in adopting advanced technology within the fast food industry. So, we'll see how that goes. And you got to let me know how you feel about that too, because that could be pretty great, right? All right. Well, speaking of all things great, join me again next week, because next week I have a whole bunch of programming scheduled for you. In particular, because we are in the deep of back to school shopping, I also have a something prepared to tell you how best to navigate back to school shopping this year, and how you can make sure that your budget stays secure and of course doesn't get blown for back to school shopping, which, believe it or not, is the second biggest shopping event of the year, just after the end of the year holidays. Yeah, it's true. It's big. It's crazy. But for those of you who are joining me live, thank you so much for making the time. I truly appreciate you. Do me a favor, hit that like button and hit subscribe, so that way you can keep updated every time that we go live here. And of course, if you want to watch past episodes of Level Up Live with Winnie Sun, you can definitely check my social media platforms. But for older episodes, you can check out NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Roku, so many other social media platforms and streaming platforms. And of course, if you're in lookout for a new podcast, check out the Yes Factor with Winnie Sun, which can be found on Apple Podcasts and many other platforms. With that, have a beautiful weekend. The market's currently down. Dow's down 838 points. Nasdaq's down 492. Eek. S&P 500 down 130. Let me just say, you know what? If you don't need to worry about the market today, don't worry about the market. Go enjoy. Take care of your Friday things, the things that are on your list of things to do today, and then go enjoy the weekend. I'll see you again next week. Take care. Be well. Bye bye now.